Hello, welcome to Guerrilla Discipleship. I'm your host, Kevin Baker. Today, we're going to continue the conversation with Pastor Grace from Bosqueville, Texas. We're going to jump right in and talk about and discuss how the disciple-making movement training has affected how she has been leading her church.
Love that. All right. So here's the thing that is a struggle that I want to hear a little bit about from you also. We certainly have struggled with this and are still, it's not done. But once we got exposed to this training, it puts into conflict some of the ways we've been going about church in the U.S., some of the ways that the Western church functions, and the emphasis often in the church today here in our culture being on gaining more knowledge, whereas Jesus in the scriptures seem to have this emphasis on becoming obedient. We don't just hear to hear or learn, we hear so that we can be obedient. And so how has it affected you as a pastor? What have you done, and how has it gone over in terms of your time serving the church there in Bosqueville?
I can start by saying ha 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 to this question. Because I've been through stages of approaches to this. The first stage I did was I tried to invite all the key leadership in the church to go through the training. This didn't go over so well. I think that no one made it past the second lesson.
Oh, wow.
They all backed out. Now there was a larger group in the training. I think we had 15 and a number of those continued through, but this was like January. So I kind of did the same thing you did. I turned around and because they had encouraged us to always be sharing what you learn, right. Like always reproduce what you learn, always be, training and launching others and growing. So Ron and I together did a training starting in that January. And we were so unnerved by it that I went to the eLife group and I was taking the training again in week one. And then the following Monday night, we were doing the training. So Friday, I would take the training, send him the recording. And then Monday night, we were alternating leading the training. So we were both we have no idea what we're doing. In fact, we told everyone we're just babies and fools, and God loves babies and fools. But
yes, exactly.
Okay, I think I got a little far away from the question. So coming back to the church, we invited our key leaders to attend. He had a few more continue and go all the way through, but they were spotty in their attendance, but they finished-ish. Mine just said, this is too much for me, and they backed out. So then I thought, they talked about looking for a radical or just one or two people and starting there. So I started with that, and that too didn't go all the way through. The one person was like, I just can't add this to my schedule. This is intense. And the other person was like, my work schedule won't allow me to be consistent, and I'm not a consistent kind of person. So that was my second attempt with people in the church.
Okay.
Then I went through a phase where I said, I'm just going to toss the church out, and I'm only going to stay because being the lead pastor there gives me an inroad to have conversation with other pastors, but I'm just going to do the minimum there, and I'm going to focus my time on DMM. And so for about a year, Ron and I and his two boys, we picked up garbage in a park, and we prayed for people that were encountered at the park. We walked the neighborhoods, we prayer walked. We did that for about a year. We learned a ton about how to connect with people and share stories, but we didn't see any Discovery Bible studies start as a result of that. So Chris Galanos in one of the coaching groups said, hey, if you're looking to do an access ministry, you want to do one where there's an opportunity to build relationships. So we stopped the park and started praying about what is that next step. And through that, I got connected with Shepherd's Heart, which is a mobile food pantry, began to volunteer there every couple of weeks to get to know them and get to know their people. And then in the continued meeting with the three pastors from Bosqueville, I brought to their attention, the phrase in most churches. In fact, there's a church in town that actually has this as their words. It says, come and see, learn and grow, go and do. That's their motto. And I said to the guys, I said, look, if we don't flip that, if we don't change that around and have it be come and see, go and do, and through that learn and grow, we're never going to know enough to actually step out.
Yeah.
And so they all agreed. And so we have begun now. We just had our first food distribution in October. Our second one's coming up in November. And I'm doing a visitation training tomorrow night where we're going to do a little discovery Bible study in Luke 10 so that they can, visitation really is like the disciples going out. And so we're going to do a discovery Bible study together. We're going to learn together, and then we're going to share some principles, and then we're going to practice with each other. And so I'm hoping maybe 6 or 7 come, but I just think that you got to begin with those who are willing to go. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. Don't worry about the whole big group. Model it yourself, and then go, invite people to go with you. And if they go, that's a sign of obedience. Continue to cultivate that. If they don't, let go, and just keep loving them. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at now. But that's a big continuum.
Right. Right.
And to the place where I'm not angry at them anymore. I'm just trying to really love them.
I keep telling Grace, keep telling you that out of all the 200 or so pastors that God has given us the privilege of taking through the training, you're the star student. And she keeps saying that can't be true. But the truth is, Grace, you are a natural connector. You connect people. I mean, just even you're the one that brought Ron into the training. And I think you do it so naturally, you don't give yourself credit for it. But and then, of course, you and Ron together connected his sons in, and you've connected with these other pastors in the area. And you have just connected. I mean, the story, if we can get to it, there's stories of Grace connecting all over the place, which is just such a part of disciple making. I mean, Barnabas was a connector, right? He did such an amazing job of, we think of him as an encourager, which he was, but he also connected people. He would encourage, connect, and God did amazing things. And so, Grace, you are just an amazing connector in that regard. And so Grace also and I both go to a ongoing coaching on Wednesdays. And one of the things that we've talked about as pastors, and Grace has kind of illuminated it a little bit here, is, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a pastor or not, the disciple making training really does. I loved you used the word earlier about an earthquake. It does create a almost existential crisis. I told the staff after I took the training, I said, I think I've gotten some things wrong my whole ministry career. I actually apologized to them that we weren't emphasizing obedience enough, that we had spent too much time trying to get people to be knowledgeable rather than obedient. So anyway, it is earthquaking. And going into that coaching with folks all over the world who are way advanced beyond where we are, you and I both have talked about oh my gosh, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I don't even know how to tread water with these guys or these folks who've just been practicing this for so much longer. I mean, you and I both now have been exposed to folks, practitioners of disciple making movements, who have seen movements started, who God's used in amazing ways across the world. I mean, we're just us, but we've been exposed to amazing things. Could I just ask you, how did you deal with the oh my goodness, God, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to tread water here. Just the overwhelmingness of being exposed to all of this. How did God walk you through that, or how did you walk through that personally?
Wow. A lot different now than at the beginning. At the beginning, we would hear from, like you said, these amazing practitioners, and even the people in just our group, not even the people they were bringing to talk to us,
right,
were steps and steps and leaps ahead. I felt, already I felt at a disadvantage because I had only pastored for a year through COVID, already an unprecedented time. And, many of them had been church planters and, had built huge campuses. Of course, Chris Galanos had the mega church that, he transitioned. So I just felt like I didn't belong there. Like I didn't know know enough. There I go again. It's the knowing, right? But I also was struggling a lot with obeying just because there was so much, like week after week, there'd be new information. Right. And I would be like, wait a minute, I'm still 4 months behind trying to do this step and trying to become obedient about it. And now there's this new thing. And I'm like, I'm not walking with the group. I feel like I'm always behind. Personally, I mean, sometimes I would get off the call and I would become depressed, and it would take me almost a day and a half to recover, to be able to kind of start again and pray again. I would be just so discouraged because of comparison. Comparison is just deadly.
Yes, it is.
And so, that was a good lesson I learned out of that. The Lord just said, just you do what I tell you to do and don't worry about all these other people. But every so often there'd be like a little nugget that I would glean that applied like right then to my life. One of them, if I can share that, was
sure.
They had I don't even remember his name right now, but I think he was the Beyond leader, and they were talking about kind of flat leadership. It's one of the things they were talking about. I don't remember the name of the guy. But anyway, one of the things he said in there is that, we tend to look at the Great Commission in a sequential way versus like a comprehensive way, i.e., he would say, it's not Jerusalem and then Judea and then the uttermost parts of the earth. It's Jerusalem and Judea and the uttermost parts of the world all at the same time. Yeah. And because it's vision and exposing, and it's having care outside of your own network. There's so many benefits to that. And so I began to seriously think about, how do I get where has God planted a heart in me for the nations, and how can I make a connection with that? And so out of that, there was an invitation later that came to attend a Catalyst camp through Zoom with a group called Lifeway Missions International out of Kenya. Well, I'd always had a heart for Kenya. I'd always loved Africa. Don't know why. And so I decided I was going to go. Now, this was a weird commitment because for them, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to attend the breakout sessions for the event, because their main event started at 7 a.m. and went till 10. So I began this connection, this prayer connection. And this past summer, I was able to invite Dr. Isla Tassi, who's the head of Lifeway Missions, to come and to make a connection with a relationship connection in Waco. And so that's kind of the fruition of just responding to that one nugget, that it's not this and then that and then this, but it's this and beginning to play that out with a bigger vision.
And I just want to, for those of you listening, I know you can hear it in Grace. I started that question with, Grace, it feels overwhelming, and often we felt like we were drowning. And you're talking about being depressed at times, feeling so, I don't think you used the word inadequate, but oh my gosh, how do I do all of this? And at the same time, you are continuing to walk with God, and he's forming in you, and then using this great gift of connecting that you have, and bringing Dr. Isla to Waco has now furthered a lot more connections with the seminary students, other pastors. And it's just, I think, again, I want to just emphasize, you discount sometimes how critical that role and that just natural gifting. I don't think it takes anything for you to connect people. That's just who you are. It's how God created you. But I'm just always amazed by that. Grace, could I ask you this question? Because we've taken some folks through our training in the church. We've taken our staff, the board, others in the church. And I've had folks who, not a lot, we've had most of the people who take our training have stuck with it, but I have had some who drop out. But I also know there are a lot who feel exactly the way that you and I did. And that is that, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. This is just, I don't know what to do with all of this. Knowing now, being where you are now, knowing that you've been through that, I am drowning, I'm depressed. I loved what you said about comparison. What would you tell someone who is maybe listening to this and feels overwhelmed right now? Like, I am just learning about this and it's rocking my world and I don't know how to keep moving. I don't know. I feel like quitting because I feel so out. I feel like I'm out of my league, or whatever the way that they're feeling about it. What would you tell them?
Well, for me, what ended up happening is that God used that, moving ground underneath me to help strip away my need for control. That there was a lot that I learned about, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Don't stop moving forward, even if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I'm a strategy person and I like processes. So, and I want to see where, I don't want to see just the next step, but I want to see what, the whole path.
Yeah.
And discipleship is not like that. I do think that as a coaching group, we could do a better job of helping people process that, like to affirm the uncomfortability, to affirm the fact that this is a wrestling thing, that this is a seeking thing, that this is that God often creates a hunger and a desire in us so that we'll persevere through things, that's normal, that create some, sense of normalcy to that, and speak about it, like be clear that this is part of the process, the struggle. And I think that's why Chris is so good at not giving answers. He's so frustrating to try to talk to him because you want him to tell you the answers to things. But what he does is he just keeps redirecting you back to pursuing God and pursuing God's heart and pursuing what God has for you. Because he knows that everybody's story is different and the outcome's different. The giftings are different. The call is different. And so, but I needed more of that assurance. I would have liked to have had some specific things, first of all, a group to walk with, because I'm by myself here, just with Ron and I. We didn't have a team to really process things with. So and some clear steps of obedience that I could have kind of gotten those under my belt and gained some confidence. Yeah, I think that would have been helpful.
Well, that's all we have for today. This conversation with Pastor Grace is going to finish next week. Thank you for being a part of Guerrilla Discipleship. As always, if there's any way that I can help you, if there's any way that we can give you resources or encouragement in your disciple-making journey, please let us know. Reach out to me at kbaker@oakdale.church. Thank you again for being a part of Guerrilla Discipleship. Have a great day.